Oh, hello there. I'm sorry I can't be with you today. I am at a workshop in Edinburgh for the House Bill 5 class I'm teaching fourth period. But I wanted to just be with you in spirit and using the magic of YouTube. I will talk to you a little bit about Chapter 7 of Learning by Doing. Chapter 7 starts out with a case study of a charter school they call Gladys Knight. And the authors show their age by saying that the school's nickname is the Pips. I guarantee you that is a reference that none of our students will get. But they do talk about how this school has decided to begin collaborative learning. And they've gone to the workshops, they've adopted the methodologies. But the one area in which they are offering resistance is the use of data. The teachers are afraid that if data is broken down by teacher, that it will be used for merit pay, that it will become part of the evaluation, that they will lose standing with their peers, they might not get the classes they want. All of the things that all of us probably immediately think of when we are asked to break down our data by, rather than just by grade level, by, this teacher got this teacher got this teacher got that. We all want to resist it, and we all want to be able to say, well, I have more ELL students, or I have the kids right after lunch and they're all drowsy, or I have all the football players in one class. And those are all very real concerns, things that I have dealt with in my career, and I'm sure that many of you have either. But the authors make the point that the focus needs to be not on just the process. We tend to think if we all adopt collaborative learning, and because all of these people tell us to, that our scores will get better, but we have to look at the real outcomes and results of that, and that takes data analysis. So we need to be a results-oriented school. Now, data-driven has been the buzzword lately, and data-driven schools are everywhere. But they had an acronym that I like called DRIP, which meant that we are data-rich, but information poor. What do we do with all this data we get from all of our reports? We have to recognize that if we have an ineffective practice, no matter how much we enjoy it or how much the kids enjoy it, if it doesn't result, how do I say it? If it doesn't prove itself through results, data results, through testing, assessment, things that you can point your finger at, then it should be reevaluated. It should be a procedure that perhaps we need to drop, or a practice that we need to drop. From our administration, if we're going to become a data-driven school, or information-driven school, I should say, we need the following, according to the book. We need frequent and timely feedback of our tests. We need agreed upon proficiency standards. What is the agreed upon standard for being successful in this area? We need valid assessments that cover the standards, the state standards, or whatever standards we're trying to measure. And we need to have each teacher compare his students to students in another school. Not so much for evaluation purposes, but maybe I'm just doing something wrong, and I want my students. Every teacher does. Every teacher wants their students to be successful. So I have to look and see. None of my students are recognizing figurative language. Why is that? Everybody else's are. Do I just have students that have a figurative language deficiency, or am I not teaching it correctly? Odds are I'm not teaching it correctly. And so they list several protocols in this chapter of how to examine the data, and how to turn it into information, and information that fuels and changes our practices in the classroom. Their first one is here's what, so what, now what protocol, they call it. And you spend the first 5 minutes analyzing what happened on an assessment. You just look at the results. And everybody does that quietly. and that's the here's what. You spend the next 10 minutes analyzing, so what? What does this mean? What does this tell us? And then the final 15 minutes, you look for, now what? How is this going to change our instruction? What do we need to do? What does this data tell us that we need to address? They also have, from Harvard, something called the Project Zero protocol. In this protocol, the team members examine evidence of student learning or examples of student work in silence and take notes on their observation. The team leader asks, what did you see? Members are asked to make factual, non-evaluative statements. The team leader asked, what questions does this evidence of student learning raise for you? Members are asked to speculate about the thought processes of students and gaps in their understanding. Now, this is I'm a little worried about this step because I think speculating on students' thought processes is just something that's unknowable. Number 4, members discuss implications for their teaching. 5, members establish action plans to act upon their learning. 6, members share their reactions to and assessment of the meeting. Another process is the descriptive review process. And there's a bunch of steps to this. The first step is there's an introduction. A member of the team presents the results of an assessment or examples of student works to teammates, 5 minutes. And you have to do this. No one can talk while they're doing this assessment, which I know is hard for teachers, right? I know it's hard for me. Teacher presentation. Members of the team review the presented work as the presenting member explains his concerns or questions. No interruptions or questions are allowed during this presentation. Number 3, clarifying questions. Participants may ask clarifying questions, but again, no discussion is allowed at this point. That's 5 minutes. 4, feedback. The team discusses the work together, giving 3 kinds of feedback, each in separate intervals. The presenting teacher listens and takes notes while his or her colleagues talk. 10 minutes. The feedback must directly relate to the assignment or examples of student work at hand. The 3 kinds of feedback include the following: warm feedback, positive points; cool feedback, questions, doubts, or possible gaps in the work; hard feedback, challenges related to the work. And of course, we're always going to remain professional. So your hard feedback probably isn't going to be that terrible. Reflection. The presenting teacher responds to the feedback given by team members, highlighting new insights, seeking clarifications, and identifying changes to be made. This will take about 10 minutes. Debrief. The team leader solicits feedback regarding the team's perceptions of the process. 5 minutes. Okay. Then there's a student work protocol on page 190, and it asks you to consider the following from a team. What did you see in the student's work that was interesting or surprising? What did you learn about how the students think and learn? What new perspectives did your colleagues provide? How can you make use of their perspectives? What questions about teaching and assessment did looking at the students' work raise for you? How can you pursue these questions further? Are there things you would like to try in your classroom as a result of looking at the students' work? I kind of like this one, actually. I think the others are too formal, and we all know each other so well in these PLCs that I think this is a protocol that would probably work best for most people on this campus. Okay. So after the protocols, they talk about that there needs to be cultural support for team analysis of student learning. And that is really more something that the administrators need to work on, that we're giving the time for this, that that we understand that we're not evaluating one another, that we're there to support one another. All of these things are very powerful. And they also say that conversely, those who demonstrate that they are indifferent to results and unwilling to consider changes in their practice should be dealt with more directly and assertively. Okay, so we don't want that. We don't want to be asserted upon. All right. Part 3, here's why. A focus on results is essential to organizational effectiveness. Everybody has to be rowing towards the same goal, and that goal has to be a result rather than a process. A focus on results is essential to team effectiveness. All that time is wasted if we don't increase our student learning. And I think that is, very important. We all have to PLC, so rather than dislike it or use the time to be sending text messages on our phone or complaining about things at the school, and we all do that, and I know I do. But if we're going to be doing PLCs, let's do something real during that time period. I know that Michelle and I are right next to each other, and we PLC during our PLC, and we PLC during our lunch, and we PLC during passing periods. It's great to be able to talk to your colleagues and to be able to work on things and not use it as some kind of a dumping ground for your complaints about the school. All right. A focus on results is essential to continuous improvement. And then they have some data following those pages, some quotes from professional articles. A focus on results can serve as a powerful motivator. And what I got from this is kind of like when you join any kind of a group, like a weight loss group. You lose those first couple of pounds, like here I am talking about losing weight, but you lose those first couple of pounds and everybody sees that you've lost that, and then you have to report. It's a motivator. It gets you into the spirit. It helps you see, when you see your student success, you want to continue for improving on these strategies. Okay. Also, professional development is forever a part of our job, is part of our career. And so we have to change our behavior and our practices and adapt them to the PLC model, to the collaborative learning model. Okay, I'm going to skip some pages. Part 4 is an assessment, how you can assess your place on the PLC journey, and you can look at that. Part 5 has some tips for moving forward, creating results orientation. You need to translate data into information. Use apple to apples comparisons. Don't compare my AP class to a beginning learner of English class, an ELL or an ESOL class. Used balanced assessments that aren't slanted towards a certain instructor, a certain subject matter in some way. Okay. Formative assessments and summative assessments. And remember that a fixation with results does not mean inattention to people, all right? We don't want to become a machine. Our students are people, teachers are people, and understanding people and what motivates them and how they best work together is essential for the success of any school. Part 6 gives us some questions to guide the work of your professional learning community. These are pretty good questions, and I think we probably need to keep these for next year and maybe evaluate ourselves on these just informally at the end of the 9 weeks. And part 7, it talks about dangerous detours and seductive shortcuts. One of the things they say is don't focus just on average, like, well, I got 85% of my class passed. Yeah, but you had 3 students that just totally bombed. Why? What was going on with them? And move beyond item analysis and dig as deep as you can to identifying the specific skills that your students need for success on their assessments.